Welcome to Aging Gracefully. I want you to live a long, healthy life without regrets. And I have a special guest with me today, Martin Pazzani. Hello, Martin. I know you have the same beliefs as me, living a long, healthy life without regrets.
Yeah, great to be with you, Catherine. We do share that same belief. And yeah, there's no reason why we can't try to all live a happier, healthier, longer life. And there's lots of ways we can do it.
So I have a copy of your book right here. And I love this book very much so. I encourage anybody and everybody to get this book and read it, because I've got to tell you, my expertise is gardening. That's where I'm outside all the time. I am so inspired by this book, Martin. I'm ready to climb mountains.
That was my intent, Catherine. Maybe not mountains, but I wanted to give people the feeling that they can take charge of the way they age, and it's all accessible. You just have to get out there and do it.
Yes. And I believe that a certain age doesn't have to have any specific look to it, that you design it yourself. You design what you want your age to look like.
Yeah, and our generation actually is totally busting the imagery that the prior two generations, all generations before had, which is, you get to your 60s, you have to slow down and get ready to retire, and you become almost an irrelevant person, easing your way off into the sunset. Well, as you well know, our generation is resisting that. And, there's competitions in every area for who's going to be the oldest person to hike the Appalachian Trail, which is now in the 90s. And there's age records being broke everywhere. So you can, in fact, defy aging now if you stay fit. Listen, the subtitle of the book is The Fitness You Can't Get in a Gym. And that's not to say gyms don't serve a purpose. I'm a gym rat. I have been for 50 years. So I love working out in the gym, but there's something different about being outside. And first of all, obviously, the sunlight. Sunlight is great for you. It's kind of a viral thing. It kills viruses. It builds vitamin D. There's just some amazing benefits to being outside. Including it improves your vision, it de-stresses you. I mean, the list is very, very long. So and let's face it, mankind, our species has been around way longer than civilization, and that drew us inside staring at screens. And we're born to be outside. Our physiology loves to be outside. And so when you deny it that, I think we diminish ourselves. And that's one of the messages of the book is look for reasons to get outside. My reason has always been hiking and exploring. Yours is gardening. There's plenty of reasons, biking, running, jogging. I mean, there's a million ways to do it, and it's all for the good.
So there's the lung capacity, there's cardiovascular benefits, eyesight, you mentioned, bone density.
Yeah,
well, hiking, walking, this is good for your bones as well as your muscles.
Absolutely, and that's a concern of so many people. But the thing about hiking is it puts stress on your legs. And that stress actually creates better bones. Now, not if you overstress it, obviously not good. But bone density is a concern, and so when you do hiking, you're putting a little extra emphasis. It's like any muscle. If you strain it a little bit, it grows stronger. And so if your heart responds that way, your brain responds that way, your legs respond that way, and your bones respond that way. Give it a little bit extra and they get stronger.
Let's talk a little bit about the difference of, let's say, I'm in the gym and I'm on a treadmill or even on the sidewalk for the most part, and you're just walking. Your mind can go elsewhere. You're not really paying attention that much. Right. Talk about when you're on uneven terrain and how you pay attention to that and how it builds cognitive health.
Yeah, it's a critical element. And again, a treadmill is great. It gets your heart pumping. I'll never tell someone don't do a treadmill, but you can zone out, watching television, listening to music. And most of the steps you take during the course of a day, even at home, are predictable. You don't really think about where your foot is going. and whether you're going to fall or not. It's you're on automatic pilot when you're walking, but still you're walking, which is a good thing. Hiking outside unpredictable terrain puts the process in a whole new level. First of all, your brain has to recalculate every single step when you put your foot down. Is it going to slip? Is it uneven? Is it uphill? Is it downhill? You have to recalibrate. And all of that requires a massive amount of what you think is unconscious, but your brain, your eyes, your muscles are all coordinating. That creates cognitive load. That process actually helps your brain build new neural pathways. It helps your balance. It helps every aspect of you. And that's why I like to call hiking the fountain of youth. It's because of all that cognitive activity that's required where you're not on automatic pilot. And that's a good thing.
All right. I love this so much. But let's say I'm 70 years old and I haven't been hiking before. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid I'm going to fall. I'm going to slip. I have all kinds of excuses. Sometimes my knee hurts. I have a bad hip. Let's be excuse busters right now. And let's talk to that person who is afraid to get started. They're thinking of going right to the mountains.
You know, the first thing I always advise people, and I do this throughout the book, is the first thing you have to do if you've not been outdoors or doing hiking or any kind of fitness is you got to get an assessment. And you got to get either your doctor or a therapist or a good personal trainer has to do an assessment to determine if you do in fact have some kind of a physical limitation. Assuming you don't, and it's just you're in your head, you start small. You don't have to hike a big mountain. A walk around the block is a good place to start. Walking on the treadmill is a good place to start. You can work out a lot of kinks on the treadmill, even if you're not, using your brain the way you could hiking. Walking on a treadmill is a good place to start. So like any challenge, any goal, you break it into little pieces and you start really small. I mean, it's never too late to start thinking about this, no matter what age you are. There's a lot of scientific studies that show even in your 90s, if you've not been fit, if you start a walking program, that can lead to walking better, can lead to a lot of things, drastic, significant improvements in your physiological health. So there's always a starting point. After you get that assessment to determine you're able to do things, start small, start walking. Walking is the most basic thing. Our bodies are made for walking. That's how we evolved. And the more walking you do, the better. It's that simple. And that's why things like Fitbit, they count steps. It's the most base thing you can do, but it's actually a pretty good place to start.
Okay. Now you mentioned the word goal, and I'm all about goals, setting your goals, having a vision, taking yourself there in your mind first, where you want to be.
Right.
So you are a man with big goals. You've been all over the world hiking. So you've obviously had big vision of what you really want your life to be like at any age. So for someone who's starting out, you encourage them to have goals as well, although they could be smaller, more doable, attainable for them in a matter of weeks even, so they can feel success as they go.
Yeah, I think, first of all, with goals, I think goals give you a purpose, right? So you have to know what you're trying to accomplish. You have to have a purpose. I think it's important. You just don't aimlessly establish a goal. And once you do that, once you know what you want, if it's a really lofty goal, it seems inaccessible, you break it into smaller pieces. And that just makes it more accessible. And the interesting thing about goals, though, is you never want to set them in a way that they're impossible. You want a bunch of small goals and steps along the way. It builds your confidence. When, like even if you want to lose weight, right? If your goal is to lose 50 pounds, the first goal could be losing the first 5. And then you can lose the 5 and then you lose 5 more. So don't say, I have to lose 50 pounds. Focus on the first 5. You break these things into small bite-sized pieces. They become far more digestible, and it increases your confidence that you can achieve these goals. So again, big accomplishment. Start with the first simple little step. And that's what I always recommend. What's the first step? Get that done, then set the second step, and so on. It doesn't have to be, let's climb Mount Everest. It could be, I want to be able to walk 5 miles through the woods with my great-grandchildren. And the place you start might be the treadmill in the gym, but you just break it off into small steps.
All right. I know we speak the same language here. So recently, in these last couple of years, our message has been kind of squashed by another message that's like, isolate yourself, stay indoors, stay away from other people. And I think our message remains the same. Get outside. You can have all the distance from people if you want, but keep yourself working hard, challenging yourself, finding ways that your health is a priority,
I
right?
agree. I think that when we look back on this last 2 years, we're going to find the downside of all the inactivity and the sheltering in place and all that stuff. Sure, we protected elderly populations and vulnerable people. That's a good thing. But for the vast majority of people, I think we may have made them less healthy by forcing people inside and scaring them into inactivity. I think outside activity, and listen, all through the last 2 years of the pandemic, I was outside 3 times a week. And I didn't let it slow me down. And I know in my hiking communities and climbing communities, didn't slow many people down. It was an incredibly active period. In fact, here in New England, the trails were never more crowded than they were the last 2 years because people wanted to get outside. They actually didn't want to go into gyms at first, but they knew they needed exercise. They knew they needed outdoor exposure. It was almost an innate thing. You didn't have to tell them. People just knew they had to do it. And so I was very gratified to see how many people all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm going outside. I think for the better. So, there's a million reasons to do it. And I feel bad if people were scared into staying inside. Getting outside is much healthier for you.
There's even in your book a mention about how it boosts your immune system.
Yeah.
And even exposes you to new types of bacteria and that, which is so good for us. It's beneficial. Again, boosting our immune system because we've been exposed to new things, different things, and this is good for our bodies to be stronger.
I agree. I think people of our generation kind of innately know that. We used to, I'm sure your parents did too. They said, go outside and go outside and play, get a cold. It makes your system stronger. I mean, we're joking about it, but there's a certain truth to not protecting yourself to the point where your personal immune system is so vulnerable that it's weakened. I've always preferred to make sure my system, my own personal system, works so well that I can overcome just about any illness because of fitness and I think a pretty good immune system. I don't get sick that much anyway. So I think fitness helps. It's the ultimate preventive healthcare, is your own body's ability to ward off illness. And you get to that point by being fit. And one of the ways you do that is outside. So I'm a big supporter of what I call upstream preventive healthcare. That's what the book is about, which is about taking charge of your fitness and being proactive about it. And don't wait around. There's a lot you can do to take charge of the way you age.
So I often ask at the end, what is the secret to aging gracefully? But you've got right here, secrets of aging well, pretty much the same thing. The secret is get outside.
I think one of the answers is get outside. Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, Martin. I just love your message for everyone. By the way, I'm 63, you're 66, 65 at this point. And so, we are living what we believe as well. Yeah. And we are both encouraging other people, move, be active, pursue your goals, get outside, live big, live full.
What a pleasure to be with you, Catherine. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.